All right, first through fourth grade. So this week we're doing part two of how we worked with a Google Doc last week. Now, if for some reason you didn't do that, if you watched the video but you didn't actually make the Google Doc like we did, I really would encourage you to go back and do it. And it's pretty simple. All you would have to do is either watch the video in one window and then or tab and then work in a Google Doc in a separate tab, and you can pause every once in a while, follow the steps and go back, and you can rewind or fast forward as much as you want. Or if you watch the video on how to split your screen into two halves, you can split your screen and have the video with the tutorial in one half and work on the Google Doc in the second half. All right, so for today, we're going to look at a couple of different things. First, where do we find that Google Doc that we made? Well, if we are in Google and we're signed in, we have this 9-dot grid right here called the App Browser, and when I click on it, I'm really going to focus on two places today. First, this right here that says Docs, which is where we initially went to go ahead and create a Google document from scratch. If I click on that, I see any Google Docs that I've worked on in the past that I've made. And if you're in first grade, you might have just this one or two. If you're in fourth grade, you probably have a good collection. But here is that document right here, and I can open it straight from within Google Docs. But being in Google Docs is really only going to show me the documents that I've worked on. It will keep them, it will save them online, but it doesn't show me everything. The other place you could go is your Google Drive. Now, your Google Drive is like a hard drive on the internet, right? A hard drive is the storage inside of the computer where if anybody out there has ever made anything on the computer and saved it to a desktop or documents or somewhere else, you're saving it on that actual computer. Your Google Drive is like that, where you can store anything in here. It could be a song file, a photo, a document, a spreadsheet, anything. And you could either do it by creating it in Google or uploading it from another computer or a drive like a flash drive. And anything that you would like is stored inside of this Google Drive. So for those, again, in fourth grade, you might have a lot of things in here. And imagine by eighth grade, it will be a really, really large amount. And we'll see in another video how to kind of organize and separate those things into folders and different things you can do. But for today, whether you went through Docs or whether you went to your Google Drive, you want to get to this document that we worked on last week. I named mine Computer Class, and hopefully you saw how to change that name up at the top left, and you did as well. And today, we're just going to look at a couple of features that we haven't seen yet, and we're also going to see what to do with this Google Doc once we're finished with it. So, the first thing that we see is we have our 3 lines that we put text on, and we worked with changing that text, and then we did a screenshot at the end. For today, let's look at first, what if we wanted this background of this page in a Google Doc to be different? What if we wanted it a different color? And right now it's in portrait mode, so that's like holding a sheet of paper straight up and down long ways. Or on a camera phone, smartphone, if you hold it straight up and down, you're in portrait mode. Well, what if we wanted it in landscape so that it's wider, right? So that it's like a phone on its side, or like a piece of paper if you turn it to the side, so it's wider than it is tall. Well, to change those things, we're going to go up to the menu and click on File, and then we're going to go down to where it says Page Setup and give that a click. And here it has a lot of different options. Margins can also be changed here, but I like 1-inch margins. That's what Google Docs defaults to, and I'm going to leave that. If I wanted to change it, that's the border around the entire page. But what I did want to do is change it to landscape, right, so that the picture is wider, or the page is wider, and I'm going to change my page color. Now, for this, I would suggest doing a color that's lighter, like in this range in here. If you picked black, or if you picked a really dark color, you might see that some of your text that you made already has a really hard time showing up, being visible. You might have to go back and change that. So I'm going to pick really any color that I like, but just a lighter version of it. I like a green. So I'm going to pick this green, light green right here. I would stick to these 2 rows. These 2 rows of colors, and pick whatever color you choose. So if you like a peach, if you like a red, if you like a purple, a blue, but I'm going to pick this green right here, and I'm going to say OK. And then what you'll see happen is my page turns so that it's wider to the left and the right, and there's also a green background. Now, some things that I might want to do are I might want to change this, right? Where I did this screenshot and the picture is this size, but I want to make it a little bit smaller so that I have room for one other picture. So if I gave this picture of the screenshot one click, and then I go to a corner handle and drag, I can make that picture smaller or bigger. I always teach to drag from the corner handles. In Google Docs, it's going to work really well by doing it that way, and in a lot of other programs, because it doesn't change the aspect ratio, or it doesn't make it so that the image gets too squished on the sides or squished on the top and bottom. By doing the corner handles, it's going to keep the same dimensions in regards to each other. So I'm going to make that picture a little smaller so that I have room for another, right? And you use those handles. Now let's do another thing or two with this picture. Let's go ahead and take this picture and crop it. Cropping is a word that you can imagine if you had a real piece of paper and you got a pair of scissors and you cut out some section or cut out some edges. Cropping does the same thing with pictures on a computer. So again, I have my picture selected, and I'm going to go up here to this tool, which is a universal image or a universal icon for cropping. And once I click on it, you'll see that those handles change a little bit to where there's now these black marks along the edge. And what I can do is I can go and shrink down that picture so that it's trimming off the sides. This time I can choose whether I want to go from the top, bottom, left, right, or corners for what I want to separate in that picture and cut out. Now you'll see that once you get it the way that you like it, what you cut out is faded and like more transparent, and what you're going to keep still has that original color in white. And once you're happy with what you've cropped or what you've cut out, click off to the side out of that picture and you'll see that that crop is finished, and now it's cut out just what you want. Alright, so we did that cropping and used the crop tool, which is a really awesome, powerful tool that you can use when working with images in Google Docs. But another thing that we can do is also give it an outline or a border. And if you notice when you click on a picture, there's these three tools that show up at the top. And first, it's the border color. So for this image, let's say I want my border color to be white. I think that would look pretty good. I'm going to go and pick white. Then it's the weight or the line thickness, and if you put it all the way to the top at 24, you'll see it's a big white bar that comes up all around it, but I want mine to be a little more thin, not just 1 point, because that'll barely be even visible, but maybe something like a 4 point. And so now you can see there's a white border all around that picture. And then finally you can choose if you would want that to be a solid line, a dotted line, or a dashed line. And let's say I want this to be a dotted line. Now I pick that one, and you can try different ones, go back to them, change them, but my picture changes. One of the last things we're going to do to actually work inside of this Google Doc is with other pictures, because this we got as a screenshot. But let's say you want to add another picture to this document, right? Another image. That's one of the most common things that people do aside from typing on a page is add pictures. And we're going to see how to add pictures from two different places, two different ways, other than the screenshot we already did. First, we're going to see how to do it right from within Google Docs in like the quickest, most convenient way. And to do that, we're going to go to this button right here that says Insert, and then to Image, and we have all of these choices, and we can do different ones at other times, but for right now, we're going to do Search the Web. That's one of the best ways to add images in a Google Doc, is to use this tool that's embedded right inside the program, where we can do an image search without ever leaving our Google Doc and then pick an image to put in. So I want to pick an animal, and if you want to do a different animal, that's fine, but for me, I like alligators. So I'm going to type in alligator. Press enter in this box that came up on the side, and it just gave me a bunch of pictures of alligators. Some of them are real photographs, some of them are clip art or more cartoon versions, but I can look through, not take too long, pick one that I like, and I like this guy right here. Click on him one time and press insert. And once I do that, you'll see that that picture goes right into my Google Docs without ever having to leave the page. Now, that came in really big, so I'm going to again grab my handles and shrink it down so it's a little smaller. All right, and now that I have it the size that I want to see how to add in one last picture. A small detail. You'll notice that I'm clicking off of my pictures. If I have my picture selected and then go to add a picture, sometimes it'll actually replace this picture with another one that I add. So if my picture's still selected and I know by those handles, those blue squares that are around the edge of the picture, I'm going to click off of it so that my cursor is flashing next to or underneath of that picture, and I'm going to add in one more. But this time, let's say I couldn't find what I wanted in that image search. What we're going to do is we're going to search Google for images separately in another tab and see how easy it is to add them to my Google Doc. Now, this is a little bit tricky for parents. It is up to everyone's own household if they want to allow students or the children to search just the regular Google images. And sometimes parents are perfectly fine with that, sometimes they're not. An alternative that I give for school, I have a link to this in Weymouth Portal right from the school's homepage, is called Kids with a Z Search.com. And this is a site that's powered by the Google search engine, but it's filtered with things to be safe for kids. It works in a very similar way. Aside from alligators, I also like tigers. So here I'm going to search and type in the word tiger. It's first going to give me results from all over the internet because it's on a web search right now. If I just want images, I'm going to click on images right here. And this is working the same way, where if a parent decided to just use the regular Google search and search Google images, it's giving a really similar feel, even though the look is a little bit different, and a similar functionality to a Google image search. And I like this picture right here of a tiger. So how am I going to get that into my document? Well, there's a couple ways. First, I'm going to give it a click, because the first thing that we see are thumbnail images. We don't see the actual image, we see like a little preview of it, so if I try to work with that, it's not going to work as well. But now here is the actual image. So what I could do is I could do a right click on that, or if you're on a Chromebook, hold down the Alt key, and do a click, and I could do a copy image, go back to my doc, and then do an edit paste. Or, for those who know, that's a Control V. Now, let's pretend for a second that I didn't do it that way. Is there any other way? Well, the other thing that I could do is put my cursor, my mouse pointer, right on top of that picture. I'm going to click and hold down the button. So if you're using a mouse, hold down the mouse. If you're on a trackpad, hold down the trackpad. And now I'm going to drag up to my tab with my Google Doc, drag it right to where I want it in my Google Doc, and let go, and you'll see that that image appears just by dragging it into my Google Doc. Now, if your pictures wound up on a separate page, if they wound up on the same page, if you choose to make this one a little smaller, if you do other things, that's fine. But that's all we're going to do in this Google Doc today. We saw how to add text, change our page layout and color, work with those different font tools, work with different pictures and picture tools, and now we are going to pretend, since this is a sample, that we are done. We are finished. We finished? Well, what do? First, you should know that you can just X out of this, and if you did, it would save all of your work and any changes that you made. All right, so everything is saved as long as you have a good connection to the internet. If you don't have a connection to the internet, if you wanted to be really technical, Google can save offline, and there are things to know and ways to do that, but that gets a little bit involved, and the easiest thing to know is that as long as you have a connection to the internet, your work in Google Docs is saved, and you could X out right now. But one thing you could do is also share that with someone. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share it with a teacher, so I need to type in their address. If you've typed in the address of this teacher before, it may show up really easily, really simply. But if you haven't, you might have to type out the whole thing. So I'm going to type in my address right here, Henderson. And before I even do it, it's automatically trying to put my name in because it knows what I want to type because I've done it so many times before. But that would be Henderson at WeymouthTSD.org. All right, now it's already set so that people I send it to can automatically see it. So if I click done right now, that is going to get sent to my teacher. That's one thing you could do. Another thing that you could do is email it. So I'm going to X out of this Google Doc. I'm going to X out of my Tiger picture, and I'm going to go back to my app browser here and go to my Gmail. And in my Gmail, I'm going to see, and we looked at before, how to send a sample email to a teacher. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start a new email by going over here and clicking this compose button. And in the to line, I'm again going to send that to henderson@weymouthtsd.org. I have to send it or type that in perfectly in order for it to be sent. I'm going to type in a subject, a Google Doc. Now, that's just telling what this is about. I didn't have to use those exact words. I could have used different words, but it always is good to use a subject. And then I'm going to type a little message and say, here is my finished Google Doc, with a period at the end. Now, I'm going to attach that doc, and it's slightly different. This is more for parents, but if you've used email before, if I click this paperclip icon right here, it's going to look for a local file on my computer. What I actually want to do is go over to this symbol right here, which is inserting a file using Google Drive. I click on it, and it's going to show me in my drive, sometimes the most recent or the organization that I have in my drive. I find the document that I was working on, which is right here. Give it a click, insert it, and now that Google Doc is attached to this email, and I could give it a send. And finally, there's one last thing. Now, this is the one that I want everybody to definitely try and do. The other two, if you just looked at it for information or for parents for their information, that's fine. This one, I want everybody to try when you get done. And I will be very happy if you are just able to do this. If your doc didn't have everything that mine did exactly, if you missed some of the first parts, if you only got to parts today, whatever you did, it's going to be perfectly fine. But I want you to give this a try and see how it works. I want you to see how to submit something in Google Classroom that the teacher didn't already pre-make. We saw before when we had this little animal adaptation video assignment or the sample fun quiz, we saw how to submit that. Those were things that were already made in Google Classroom that a teacher or myself attached to the assignment. But what if I didn't? What if I wanted you to make something from scratch and to attach it to an assignment and then turn it in? Well, look at my example right here where I'm going to go to Google Classroom and I'm going to see this assignment in this class that I'm in that says, under classwork, for October 7th. That's the subject or the category, because I like to separate mine by when they're for, like which class they're for. And it says under the assignments, attach Google Doc to this assignment. I'm going to give it a click. It has a button as it expands that says View Assignment. I give that a click, and now, look, it's even highlighting this for me. It almost predicted exactly what I was going to show you guys. It says Add or Create right here. So think about the difference, right? In other assignments before, I had work attached to them that you opened up, you did, and then you turned in. With this one, there's nothing already on this. I didn't attach anything to this. This is where I told you guys through this video to go ahead and make a Google Doc. We're going to click on this plus sign next to Add or Create right here, this button. And I want to, again, get something from my Google Drive. Go ahead and look, and it's very easy because I don't have too many things under this account. Under your account, you would just want to look for what you just made in that Google Doc. Hopefully it's right at the top because you just worked on it today. Give it a click, and then Insert. And what that's going to do is it's going to attach it to this assignment so that it could then be turned into the teacher. And our last step for today, after we saw how to send a link to share that Google Doc, how to send that Google Doc in an email, is to now turn in or submit that work. And that's going to tell me that you watched this video, you figured it out, you had someone help you, you paid attention, you finished for the day, and with one more click, turn in. I lied, sorry, 2 more clicks, turn in. That is now finished. and submitted to my teacher where they can see exactly what I made. And so for you guys, I'm going to be able to see that Google Doc. I'm going to be able to look at them all, see how you did, and hopefully everybody had a good time, did a great job, and you were able to submit that work. All right, so give it a try for today. This is a no pressure type of assignment. This isn't going to be resulting in anybody failing or getting a really poor grade. This is just to see how it all works, different things you can do, and give you really a lot of practice that hopefully will help you both in this class and in your other classes with things that teachers may ask you to do. So, thank you guys. I hope you did great. You can email me with any questions, and parents or anyone else who helped, thank you. Hopefully you get a big thanks, and I'll see you next week.